Tuesday evening, everybody, and welcome back to another video. And happy 4th of July. I'm yeah. But I'm gonna have 2 videos for you guys tonight that I'm gonna film pretty quickly. So finally gonna bring you my Indiana Jones ranking in this video first. So I did watch all 5 Indiana Jones movies to prepare for this specific ranking, and Indiana Jones has always been one of my favorite movie franchises and movie characters. So despite a couple movies on this list which are riddled with issues, I really don't think none of these movies have any bad qualities. They're all filled with action and adventure. So let's go ahead and get this thing started off. And probably going to hear a lot of fireworks because you got doink wads shooting off in the yard behind us. But anyway, let's go ahead and start this video off. So my 5 and 4 are gonna be like they could flip-flop over time, but my number 5 pick for now is gonna be Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So this movie came out when I was 18, and I pretty much was familiar with Indiana Jones. So this movie centers around like the Cold War era in the 50s with the US versus the USSR, and Indy is in his prime, of course, and the main villainess in this one is played by Cate Blanchett. Her name is Irina Spalko, and she's after this unknown artifact, but as you watch this movie, it turns out to be like extraterrestrial. So it's basically a skull of Akator, which was an alien being that helped the Mayans with sustenance and whatever else they needed. So this movie also introduces Mutt Williams, which is Indy's long-lost son, and Shia LaBeouf is fine, but he's not the most memorable sidekick. But I'll get into like the sidekicks that I put below Mutt. But anyway, this one has solid action, and it's got a decent story, but it kind of falls apart in the climax because, like I said, the main twist is aliens. But I do have fun with this one. It's just easily the weakest of the franchise. But I do have singular reviews for all 5 of these movies, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about all of them. But if you want my full thoughts on all 5 of them, go check out those reviews. So that was Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And at number 4 is going to be Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. and I really couldn't decide where to actually put this, because it's either going to be 5 or 4. But obviously this is the newest one, and the villain in here now is played by Mads Mikkelsen, and he's just basically a Nazi officer that wants to kill off Hitler and make the world a better place. But he's after the Antitheka, which is a fancy name of Archimedes' dial, and this climax went way over the rails, more than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, because time travel. But this is a very solid entry. It's just not really memorable in my opinion. I need a rewatch of this, but yeah, I can't really talk about this that much because I already talked about this movie like 3 times over the past like 24 hours. So, like I said, if you want my full thoughts, movie review on my channel. But like I said, I really do need a rewatch of this, and I might enjoy it a little bit more. So that was The Dial of Destiny. And at number 3 is going to be Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. So this is probably like the weakest of the original trilogy, but it is the most rewatchable. So this introduces a lot of horror into the franchise, and the whole plot is probably the most action-packed and the most interesting, because Indy meets up with Willie Scott and Short Round, and they're basically your core 3 in this one, and they had to endure Pankot Palace, which is in India, and they had to like fight off like a murderous cult led by Mola Ram. So a lot of stuff happens in this movie that is baffling to have a PG rating. This movie actually introduced the PG-13 rating like a couple years after this one, because this is by far the darkest entry. But the one thing I cannot stand about this movie is Willie Scott, because she is the most annoying indie girl, but she does have a little bit of charm near the end. Best part is Short Round. He's probably one of my favorite characters in the Indiana Jones franchise, and this is just like a blast. I mean, it does take a while to get going. I mean, you don't even get to like the Temple of Doom storyline till about like nearly an hour into the movie. But the first hour of this is kind of boring, but you do have that dinner scene which really stands out. But then you also have Indy and Willie flirting with each other, but that really doesn't go anywhere. But once all of the horrific acts of this movie start, I'm like hooked on it. And not to mention the final bridge scene, it's very tense and probably one of my favorite parts of this whole franchise. But I do really enjoy this movie. There's just a couple things that hold it back from being the best of the best, but it's still a very fun movie. That was Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And at number 2, it's gonna be Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So, to me, this is Raiders 2.0. But you also have the introduction of Sean Connery, who plays Henry Jones Sr. He is my second favorite Indiana Jones character because he's very relatable to Indiana, and he's just a fun character in this movie. I mean, he's extremely smart, and he wants what's best for his son. So Indy decides to go and save him from the Nazis, and while on that journey, they are after the Holy Grail. So this climax introduces 3 trials. He has to avoid getting his head decapitated. He has to spell out the Latin version of Jehovah, which starts with an I. And then he has to take a leap of faith. And then he ends up in the Grail room with the knight. So he must choose wisely. Perfect film, but this is pretty lighthearted compared to Raiders of the Lost Ark. So this is still in high regards of my favorite action adventure movie. But today, my number 1 pick is going to be Raiders of the Lost Ark. Need I say more? This is action adventure at its finest. This is the starting point of the Indiana Jones franchise, and in the first 15 to 20 minutes, you know exactly the tone of this movie, you know exactly who Indiana Jones is, and this is just like a roller coaster throughout. And the artifact in this one is the Ark of the Covenant, and the only way to avoid getting your face melted is to just close your eyes. To me, one of the easiest defeats that Indiana Jones has been a part of, because he was smart and he told Marion to do the same thing. So he essentially saved him and her. But anyway, perfect action adventure film filled with memorable moments, especially the temple escape and the boulder roll. This movie is just perfect. So that's my ranking of the Indiana Jones franchise. Hope you guys enjoyed. And the next video I want to film right after this is going to be my top 10 war movies. So stay tuned. My list isn't going to be the right list. It's just the movies that I've personally seen, with a couple of first views that I decided to throw on. But anyway, I'll get into that here in a minute. So I'll see you guys in a minute. Adios. Peace.